You know that feeling, right? When you're just stopped in your tracks by something incredible? A sunset, a piece of music, just something so vast it takes your breath away? Well, that feeling, it's not just a nice little moment. It's called awe. And it turns out it's a seriously powerful emotion that scientists are discovering can literally rewire your brain for the better. So let's get into the science of wonder.
Yeah, just think about a moment like this. Imagine watching a total solar eclipse. The light gets weird, the temperature drops, and all of a sudden, you feel like you're part of something truly immense. You're not just on the ground, you're on a planet, hurtling through space. That feeling, that powerful, perspective-shifting experience, that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what that feeling of awe actually is. Then, we're going to look at why it seems to be missing in our modern lives, this idea of an awe deficit. After that, we dive into the cool part, the neuroscience of what wonder is literally doing to your brain. Then we'll get super practical with how to find awe every day. And finally, we'll wrap up with the huge impact this can all have on your life. All right, so let's start at the beginning. What are we actually talking about when we say awe? What is this thing? So the official definition is that awe is what we feel when we bump into something vast that our brains can't immediately figure out. And vast doesn't just mean big, like, a mountain range. It can be a vast idea that just blows your mind, or a piece of music that feels impossibly beautiful, or even seeing an act of human courage that you can't quite process. It's that moment when your brain has to pause and say, whoa, okay, I need to update my files on how the world works. So we're basically hardwired for this incredible mind-expanding emotion. But let's be honest, for a lot of us, it feels like it's getting rarer and rarer. So the big question we have to ask is why? Why does it feel like we're losing touch with this really fundamental human experience? And that brings us to what you could call our modern awe deficit. It's a weird paradox, right? We live in a world with so much stimulation and novelty, and yet we often feel completely numb to real wonder. We're just not noticing what's right in front of our faces. Well, here's why. Our brains are built for efficiency, so most of the time, we're running on what you could call analytic mode. We're solving problems, we're labeling things, we're making judgments, it's super fast, it's automatic. But the downside is it totally flattens our experience of the world. It keeps us from switching over into perceptual mode, which is all about just noticing, sensing, being curious. You walk past a tree, and your analytic brain just goes, tree, check, and moves on. It doesn't actually see the crazy pattern of the bark or the way the light hits the leaves. And look, this isn't happening by accident. There are some major forces at play. First, there's that cognitive efficiency we just talked about. Our brain basically puts us on autopilot. Then you've got chronic stress, which gives us tunnel vision. When you're stressed, your brain is only looking for threats, so it literally filters out beauty. And of course, there's digital saturation. We're so used to constant, loud stimulation that the quiet, subtle, beautiful moments in the real world just can't compete for our attention anymore. Okay, but what happens when we do manage to break through all that noise? What's actually going on upstairs when we finally experience a moment of awe? Well, the science is clear. It's like hitting a reset button for your brain.
If there's one thing you take away about the neuroscience, it's this. Awe shrinks the ego. And no, that doesn't mean it makes you feel bad about yourself. It's actually the opposite. It quiets down all that self-obsession, which, as it turns out, is an amazing thing.
Yeah, the researcher Dasher Keltner puts it perfectly here. Awe is what quiets that nagging voice in your head. You know the one that's always criticizing you, worrying about what other people think, running through your to-do list for the 10th time. Awe just turns the volume down on all that chatter. And we can actually see this happening in the brain. The network responsible for that inner narrator is called the default mode network, or DMN. It's the part of your brain that's always telling the story of me, me, me. And in a moment of awe, brain scans show that activity in the DMN just fades out. It's like a radio station losing its signal. The story of you and all your problems just isn't the main broadcast anymore. And this creates what scientists call the small self effect. Now, again, this isn't about feeling insignificant or worthless. It's about feeling connected. You suddenly realize that your own worries, while they feel huge, are just one tiny part of this vast, incredible, interconnected world. You shift from being absorbed in yourself to feeling like a part of something much, much bigger. And the cool thing is, awe comes in different flavors. Awe from nature, that tends to calm us down and reduce stress. But awe from incredible art or music, that can fire up our creativity and empathy. Seeing someone do something incredibly kind can make us feel more connected and compassionate. And grappling with a huge scientific idea, that sparks our curiosity. They all have their own unique benefits. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we get more of it? The best news is that you don't have to book a trip to the Grand Canyon or wait for the next solar eclipse. You just have to learn how to pay attention differently. And this is where the idea of micro-awe comes in. We're talking about the small, quiet, easy-to-miss moments of wonder that are hidden all around us, every single day. You know, the insane geometric pattern on a fern, the way dust motes dance in a sunbeam, the sound of a little kid's belly laugh. These moments are everywhere. We just have to train our brains to catch them. So one of the best ways to practice this is with something called an awe walk. It's so simple. You're just going for a walk, but with a specific mission. First, you gotta slow down, like actually slow your pace. Then, just for a second, feel your feet on the ground, notice your breath. Then, shift your focus outward and try to look around with this sense of childlike curiosity, not trying to name or judge anything, just noticing. And if you need a little help, try asking yourself a few of these questions as you go. What's a tiny detail I almost missed? That question forces your brain to look past its usual filters. Or, what did my brain expect to see? And what actually surprised me? That gap between prediction and reality, that's where awe lives. These kinds of questions get you out of your head and into direct experience with the world. So, what's the big payoff here? Why should we bother with all this? Well, cultivating awe is so much more than just a nice way to relax. It has some seriously profound, measurable effects on your health, your mind, and honestly, your character. And get this is wild. Some studies have found that people who experience more positive emotions, especially awe, have lower levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines in their bodies. Now, those are the little proteins that fire up when we're under chronic stress. So in a very real biological way, awe seems to be the direct opposite of feeling threatened and alone. When you add it all up, the benefits are just huge. Experiencing awe literally makes us kinder and more generous people. It deepens our sense of connection. It makes us more resilient when things get tough. By making our own problems seem smaller in comparison to the vastness of everything, it helps us reframe our challenges and connects us to a deeper sense of purpose. It's a total game changer. So I'll just leave you with this one question to take with you. The next time you feel even a tiny flicker of wonder, from a song, from the sky, from another person, just pause and ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me about what really matters? Let that feeling of awe be your guide.